let's start with you first, Kevin. What do you think? So, Chris, this relates to you. What do you think your biggest hurdle is to get someone to hire you?
Man. So for me, I think my biggest hurdle is, and I hate to, I'm not going to say age because F that, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter. But for me, it's not a proven track record of success in the game or experience in the game to fall back on because the other aspects, like the professional aspect and the interview perspective, the communication, the leadership skills. I have all of that experience. So I'm a little bit different because I'm coming on the backside of it. So I have all that professional experience. I don't have the immediate game experience to fall back on.
Yeah.
Um, so
They
that's
and
my
let
that's
me
kind of
say
my
this. They don't care about that. They
that
don't,
yeah.
right? They don't care how many times you've been on the sideline or anything like that. They want to know if you're going to show up every day and coach the O line. And you're and like the guy we had at Greenville last year who didn't like the Crowther, right? Because he wasn't good at it in college. Like, who gives a damn, right? So they want to know if you're going to be loyal and you're going to coach what they want coached and you're going to ride for the brand. But you have all of us. So I was at so many head jobs that I had something I had to overcome in my interview. And that was, I'm going to stay. Like I've bumped around too many times. So Luster or Metter or Lewis or anybody, Kevin is 42,
I'm 46.
46,
Thank you.
just getting in. What's the hurdle? You're a young 46, like uh I think you are like what's the hurdle he would have to jump for you to want to hire him?
I'll let everybody else go first because I'll talk forever. Or I'll hop on then. Okay, here we go. So for me, man, I've learned this. Man, it's about being attractive. It's that's the law of the land. It's like I'm only going to buy a car or a truck that's attractive. I'm only going to try to date a woman that's attractive. I only want to hire a coach that's attractive. And if you don't have that experience, do you have somebody that I know on your resume that's going to vouch for you to make you attractive? If you're not very tall, are you fast? If you're not, do you have money? You got to have something to make you attractive. So the best thing that you have on your resume is your references. Your references makes you attractive. So make sure that you have those lined up. Good names, a name that everybody knows. I hired a DB coach because a guy that came in 2 days earlier was on his resume. He coached him in college, and he's right out of college, no experience. So I call that guy. He's a coach, man. He is a film junkie. He'll be great in the room. He'll be great with kids, and he's a lifelong learner. Everything that I wanted to hear, I heard from him that I couldn't see on his resume because he has no experience. So that's the thing that you have to have is if your resume can't say it for you, make sure somebody on your reference letter says it for you. That makes sense what I'm saying. And that's
Yeah.
kind of what I've learned, man, is you got to be sexy. You got to be attractive somehow, either by your experience or by your reference list.
Lewis, how about you, man? What would be your struggle for
Hmm.
if you were hiring a position coach that was 46, just getting in?
Yeah, it's interesting. I finished coaching high school ball for 17 years, moved into administration. I'm an assistant principal right now at the middle school for 2 years. What I like about this role is that now I get to sit with the campus administrator and do interviews. So the biggest hurdle would be being comfortable in your own skin, and what Randy said about what's your story about being loyal and showing up to work. The current campus setting, we do have you know, a problem with teachers showing up. We just came after the break. The ones that stand out are the ones that are prepared, and they're already there ready for kids. And we're the second day of school and you already have absences. And that's kind of like make or break. If you can sell yourself, just like Coach Luster said, as far as making yourself attractive, it would be with those two things. Show that you're loyal, and show that you're going to be here every day.
Anybody else? So here's what I'd want you to tell me, Kevin, is I hate hiring ex-NFL players. Then why? Why do you think I hate that? Have we ever talked about it?
Because they're lazy.
They're lazy. And what happens after a year, Eric? Most of them.
They go back to the next big deal. What's the
Yeah.
best way to make for me to make money?
I mean,
They never had to work. Everything's been
no.
easy for them.
And they can make more money being an ex-NFL player doing real estate or something. So here's what you're going to have to convince me, Kevin, if I'm hiring you. Here's what I'm going to ask you. How much of a pay cut are you taking to do this? And then you tell them. And then I think to myself, now he's fixing to work harder than he ever has for less money. Is this position going to be open again next year? So I think Eric and Lewis, by the way, Lewis is in Kaufman. I don't know if that's close enough, but Lewis, this guy's a stud. So here's what Kevin did for me is he volunteered at Greenville for me in 23, showed up every day for practice, whatever I needed. So you got to tell this story, Kevin, because most people won't do this. You didn't show up to fly the drone because you were too valuable for that. But you have no idea if you tell people, and if they call me, I'm going to tell them this, about once every 2 weeks, we didn't have someone to fly the drone, and I never had to ask Kevin. He just said, Coach, I got it. I'm hiring you on the spot. If somebody just says, I got, like Lewis just said this, like, honestly, Lewis, I feel like I kind of know, but when you said teacher's already gone today, like, so when you say, Coach, I got this, I'm flying the drone, that is big. So I think your biggest hurdle is convincing someone that you still want to do this a year from now. It's not how much football you know, because they're probably not choosing you over Steve Ford. Like it's probably a position that's not a lot of experience and things like that. They're going to want to know if you have a heart to learn, just sit in the corner somewhat and be quiet the first 6 months. And, like here's something I would ask you. Are you've been a boss of people, correct?
Yes.
Are you going to be okay? We don't have a totem pole here, but are you going to be okay not being the boss in the room? Things like that. Okay. Chris, welcome, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for hopping on today. Seriously appreciate it, especially on short notice.
Man, this is what we do. This is the best thing to come out of COVID, is we all know how to Zoom. So I'm not sure we've ever done one exactly like this. Do y'all mind if we do this? We have some questions, and do y'all mind if we all pretend we're on the interview committee? And Chris has got to convince us to hire him. And if anybody has a better idea, I'm open to it. Oh, good. We got Coach Velasquez. We got Tom. Tom, is it cold there?
Yeah, we had a furnace go down at church here, so we are uh no sub-zero temperatures overnight. Don't help.
Oh, Sub-Zero.
Yeah, we're
Man,
good.
it's like 40 here, so we're gonna rebuild though. Um, we got a bunch of dudes in the room. So here's how I want to start. And guys, try not to go over 60 seconds. Now I can go forever, Chris. I assume you can too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give y'all a little backstory on Chris. Is he's the guy you'd want to hire because he worked for everything. He's from Colorado. Chris, tell me if I'm wrong. Junior college route. Southern Utah started. COVID happened. Set out for a while. Went to Eastern Michigan. Never really got on the field. All the stuff. And then, like a year or two later, he says, "I'm not done playing football." So he comes to Germany, and that's when I get to coach him. And like this is one of the favorite stories I tell in the Blueprint. But the day Tom Brady got signed with the Buccaneers, he said, "I need everybody's phone number." That's all. His only question the day he was hired for the Buccaneers was, "What's everybody's phone number?" So he could start reaching out. Well, that's what Chris did. Like, if any of y'all have read the book, probably not, but most Americans that go to Europe to play are jerks because it'd be like us going to New Zealand and trying to play rugby. Like we just know more, we're better, and most of them are jerks. So we really tried to create, and Chris was the big help on this, but we're going to be team players. And so he was awesome. We didn't have a backup quarterback for the first however long. And the biggest game of the year, Chris is sick all week. And we don't have a backup quarterback. Think about it. We couldn't practice. And Chris had it coming out both ends. And so he practices. He shows up every day and we're going to go play at the place that's like the New England Patriots of Germany. And he didn't ride the team bus because he was so sick. And had a great game. And it's all in the book. So Chris has got grit. And I think you probably need to somehow tell that without sounding arrogant, I might even, Chris, take that portion of the book and put it in your packet, where they can read about what somebody else says about you, So here's what I'd like everybody to do. In 60 seconds, and Coach Jones, I'm going to start with you because otherwise we'll just have a bunch of silence. And I know you can handle this. In 60 seconds, how old are you, Chris? 27?
Yes, sir.
What does Chris need to do to convince them to hire him at age 27 with no experience?
Randy, I think the easiest thing for me, and my older brother gave this advice to me when I was interviewing for a job that I wanted. And it really doesn't have a whole lot to do with football itself. Just you got to convince a group of people that have kids of their own that you're going to love them, that you're going to care about them, you're going to challenge them, and you're going to make them work extremely hard to earn what they have because that's what you got to do in life. And I would start with that. You got to convince that committee that those group of kids that you're going to be coaching are in good hands. They will be protected. They'll be taken care of, but they will be challenged to face life challenges that are going to come to their way, and convince them that you're the guy to do that.
Great. Because really, they don't care, David, right? They really don't care what offense Chris is going to run.
It makes no difference to them. They probably don't even know anyway. You could tell them a 3 technique and they wouldn't have a clue what that is.
Yeah.
But they do understand loving kids and caring about kids.
Yeah. Okay. And by the way, Chris, I will send you this video. So, take notes if you want to, but don't feel like you're missing something. Okay. Coach Velasquez, 32?
Yes, sir, 32.
And so he just interviewed for a job and didn't get it. Thought he, you know what I mean? Like he's in on it, right? So he's going to get a head coaching job. but he's got to sell the same thing. So, Justin, what, in your opinion, what's Chris got to do to convince him to hire him?
Yeah, I mean, basically what Coach Jones just said, they they need to, when you leave the room, they need to have a sense of you were speaking from your heart, right? And that it wasn't just a facade, right? Because I think there's going to be somebody in that room that is trying to figure out whether you're being real or whether this is just a show, right? So I think when you're answering questions, you need to, answer them with examples or stories, and so that you can show real life examples, like this isn't what I'm planning on doing, this is what I'm already doing, right? And if you're not already coaching or in that position yet, you got to find ways to answer questions with specific examples of how you've managed other people and things like that, that can correlate, right, to the job you're trying to get.
And so, since he hasn't coached, and y'all get ready, I'm going to call on other people, or you can jump in, but Chris has got to use examples, right? Of, because you could
Yeah, he's
use,
got to talk about going to Germany and being
yeah,
the leader of a team and being like, he hasn't been a coach, but I've listened to you talk about his experience plenty of times to know that he was a player coach for you.
oh yeah,
Got to find ways to, incorporate all that.
yeah. In fact, that's a great point. You were the assistant offensive coordinator, like you were, like we met every weekend, and but I think you could use examples without throwing people. No one wants you to negative interview, but you could use examples of some things that happened in Germany and because here's what I think. I love European football, but as you know, my biggest frustration was it wasn't quite structured. Like Schwab's Hall was probably structured. Their head coach was from Texas or whatever in the States, but most European football, and I think you said Vienna was. So I would just kind of talk about that. Like, we can't be the Potsdam Royals unstructured. We got to be this. Anybody else, y'all, on what Chris has got to do? Because I think this is like a highlight video, like early on. So his first question is probably going to be, tell us about yourself. And I told him he needs to rehearse this and he doesn't need to ramble. So maybe I should phrase the question this way. How can he answer the question, tell us about yourself, and make it like, in your highlight video, your first play's got to be the best. It's got to be an 80-yard touchdown run where nobody catches you from behind, and then they'll keep watching. How can Chris take that question, tell us about yourself, and get them to, still be interested?
Well, Coach, I'll jump in real quick. I'm on my second head coaching job now, and Chris, I don't know if you know, but you played at Eastern Michigan, right? My boy Bird, the long snapper, I
Yep.
coached him in high school. The
Awesome.
Birdman, yeah. So anyways, the whole tell me about yourself. So I don't know what, like, if I backtrack here, like what I'm trying to hit with them is, I'm like, my sales thing is, you're selling yourself, right? I'm telling them, listen, I'm here to give your kids the best high school experience playing football possible, right? Like that's what I always started with. And then when they talk about tell me about yourself, I'm going to give them a little football background, but I'm going to talk to them. Listen, I'm a real person. I'm not just a football coach. I have family. I give that spiel too, because we're trying to create a football family at the schools I've been at. I've been at two really, really bad programs that I've taken over, and one is really good now that I left, and the next one now we're trying to turn into that, right? So we talk about being a football family, and so that's got to be part of that. Like, we have a family at home we take care of. We're trying to create a football family, and our culture is family, and it really is family now. But the biggest thing we sell to them is telling them that we're going to give their kids the best high school experience possible, right? And then we're going to tell them how we do those things. In your case, you got to find ways, like they said, like how you use examples of what you did in European football to help with that, right? And to take those things and show them how you're going to use them there. Like for us in Arizona, going away to camp is huge for right before the season starts. Well, like the school I'm at now, had never been to football camp. So like we took them to Southern California last year for football camp, right? And so we were able to tell them how we were going to do those things. And, I guess to me, like bringing some background on how you're going to do it is what they want to hear also, not just that you're going to, because the school I'm at now, the previous coaches, just nothing but broken promises to them, right? So I did not say anything I wasn't going to do. I didn't want to, over deliver, say things and then not do them because that's all they had heard for the past 5-10 years. So that's just my take on it.
Yeah, Anthony, that is so good, man. Like, I think so many people I interview with, we're gonna have a great culture. Well, heck, we can all say that. I could go interview for a CEO job of Enron and say, hey, we're going to really produce some good electricity here, whatever. I don't even know what they did. But you got to tell stories of how you're going to do it. So I love that.
I'm gonna add to this, coach, is that first question is the only question you really get to sell yourself on. Everything else is just already prefabricated questions they're gonna ask you. So you got to get yourself out there in that very first question. But how you answer that first question is off the research that you've done before you walk in there. You got to know the problems before you walk in, and you got to have answers to fix it. So when you're telling them about yourself, you're telling them how your experiences is going to fix the issues that they already have. So for instance, if you know that they have low numbers, you talk about, man, hey, man, I started out in 1992 at this school, and while I was there, we went from having 25 kids to 50 kids. You kind of already telling them what they want to hear already, but you're telling them about yourself. So it's just your way to get it out there without having any ropes on you, and just sell yourself without having to answer any more questions going forward already. So already know what they want before you go in there. So when you sit down, you got that time to them to just sell it. That's your time to sell it. But also let them know, man, that when you're there, you're bringing all the experiences of other coaches you've already worked for. Like when I go interview, I name drop Randy Jackson. I say, hey, man, I work for the guy who turned programs around. My first head coaching job, I sucked. I was terrible, and they all laughed. I go, so I stepped down from being a head coach, became an assistant coach for a guy that's known for turning programs around. That's Randy Jackson. And what I learned from him is this, and this. So I'm telling them about myself, but I'm telling them that I know how to turn programs around. I say, hey, man, I work for a guy, man. If there's a guy in the room whose son's a quarterback, I worked for a guy by the name of Scott Ponder, who's really good on the offense. And man, we had 3 quarterbacks, all of them went to college. That's going to also hint their interest. But I'm telling them, I'm hitting them, I'm selling myself to everybody in the room because I already researched that room. So that's your chance right from the word go. It's like your highlight tape. Put your best plays first. Who cares about the rest of the questions after that?
So, y'all, how long? I love stories. I can't help it. Okay. One time I'm interviewing for a job and the superintendent's in the room and this is a big job. And he says, all right, coach, I want you to tell us about yourself, but don't go too long here because a lot of coaches aren't finishing. You only have 50 minutes for this interview and we're not getting through the questions. Like he seemed aggravated. And I knew I was in trouble then, but it always stuck with me. How long, and this is a question for anybody, how long should Chris give that first answer? Tell us about yourself.
Well, I would first say, Chris, are they like for me, when I did mine, they scheduled a Google meeting or Google, calendar, and they were like, hey, the interview is this long and we have this many questions, right? So like mine was 15 questions, 60 minutes. So I knew, okay, like I got to roll a little bit here. So I would, I might ask that. And then Chris, like Coach Lester said, like use some of those experiences at Eastern Michigan too, right? Like I know Bird had great things to say, and I met the special teams coach last year at AFCA, and he was telling me about Eastern Michigan and how it is. So use the experiences there and coaches you played for, and like he said, name drop some of those coaches. But back to what Coach Jackson said, like that's what I would try to figure out is how many questions am I going to be asked, and then how if the meeting's scheduled for an hour, then okay, I could probably spend this long on each individual question, and I'm going to try to, like Coach Lester said, that tell me about yourself. I'm going to try to, like he said, make that my highlight tape and make that one. If that one's going to be long, then I know I got to shorten other ones.
To the point of that first question, I would make sure that you're selling your why. I think a lot of administration wants to dig past your accolades. I mean, you're D1 athlete, played in Germany. I think they want to know why you want to make this next step in your career. But more than that, why are you the right guy? And you could read Simon Sinek's work. I'm sure Coach Jackson's got some good stuff on your why. However, I think if you can package your why along with all those other stories and things that you can do for that program, I think that will be a great way to start the interview process.
Something I want to say too, and it's not a exact, but I think under the pressure of an interview, the true you will come out. And I think you have to be able to explain and describe, and the true person of who you are is going to come out. It doesn't matter what the question is. Pressure exposes who you are, and who you are is what you are. And I think the committee will see clearly who you are, what you're going to do for people, what you're going to do for kids, what you're going to do for your staff. But I think you just be normal. You be you. And if that's enough, it's enough. If it's not, it's not. You go to the next one. But let them see the real person, and don't try to answer a question like you think they want to hear it. That's a waste of your time and energy, and it's a waste of their time too. Just be who you are. Show your passion and love for kids and the program, and let the rest go. But your true self will be exposed in that situation.
Y'all think this is too cocky for him to say? Because I don't think he can go 5 minutes on this question, because I think they're going to, I think this has to be a 2-minute answer or less, and it has to move, right? And so is it too cocky? So I don't think he's got a bunch of time to say this stuff, but is this too arrogant to say, look, I've been on a team before in Germany where I was sick and we didn't have a backup quarterback. And not only did we couldn't have practiced, but I had 100-degree fever. I was having to find a bathroom in the middle of practice. I didn't take the team bus. I played the game. I don't know how to say this, but basically I'm going to have more grit than anybody else you're going to hire. And even though I may not have a career record yet, I probably would never say 27. I might just say I don't have a career record yet. I'm going to find a way, and you won't hire anyone who is going to find a way more than I am. Like, is that too cocky, or is that something you guys would consider?
I think it depends on the room.
So like if there's 3 females in there, maybe not, that kind of thing?
Well, I think it depends on the room, right? Like who you're talking to. Yeah, I agree with that. And then I also think it depends on the history of the program, right? Like, because there's like, for me, we went 0-10 last year, but internally, like our culture and our kids on campus are like the leaders on campus now, right? We may not have won any games, but now so we could do that kind of stuff. And we could say that at our school. So it really depends on the school. And Chris, I'd look at the history of the football program and then kind of see what you're working with there.
Coach, I think that what you said is more lines of an answer for the last question of the interview of like, why are you the guy?
Yeah.
I agree. I think it needs to have some pace to it, and you need to get through that first question relatively quickly. For me, I try to point out what are 3 characteristics that I want them to associate with me, right? So for me, I would go through and I tell them where I'm from, and then I get straight to those 3 points, but I try to get to those 3 points in a way where they're learning about me as well. So I'll talk about, I was raised by a loving mother, and she taught me love and patience, and she was this and that, right? So they know that I'm going to exude love and patience for kids. Then I go into, I'm a son of a hardworking man. He taught me how to, basically how to grind, and I give a little backstory about my dad, right? And in 4 minutes, I'm done with it, and they've gotten all 3. And then my last one was like loyalty or something, and I give a quick example of working for you and being at North Forney as long as I was, right? So I think if you can, in 4 minutes, 3 minutes, if they can get away with that, with having and keep saying those 3 words, right? And that, by the end of your answer, they can associate 3 attributes to you before you even got into the next question.
That's really good. Chris, I wish I would have asked you this before, because I don't want to put you on the spot, but tell us without, you don't have to like pretend, but tell us some things you're going to say on question one. Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so my biggest thing is I've had 6 surgeries in 8 years. I've had two doctors tell me to medically retire, and I love the game so much and have so much grit that I didn't let that stop me. I kept going, didn't let anyone tell me otherwise because of my passion for the game. And then another big thing is I did some research, one of 5 quarterbacks from Colorado that have played over 10 games at the Division I level in the last 10 years. So I think that shows my perseverance, and I come from a state where people don't go and play college football, especially at the quarterback level. And I taught myself so much and used my resources. So I think that's something I'll lean on too, is things that people tell me I couldn't do. I went out and did them anyways. And that's solely based off of hard work. I mean, when I was playing in Europe, I'd go to the gym at 4 a.m. so that I could still work a 9 to 5 and then go throw after. So I think I'm going to lean kind of a ton on past experiences with injuries, and then also being one of the few kids that made it out when most kids don't, and kind of lean on those things to say that I have your kid's best interest in hand. I've turned down college opportunities because I know that Colorado high school football needs good coaches, and there's not very many in the state that take it seriously, that want to win and want the best for kids.
Drive that. And I'll say this, and everybody on here echo this. You're going to talk to people who can care less about football. Nobody in that room is going to care about football. When you go to interviews this day and age, there's probably no one in that interview panel who played football. But their best interest is about the kids. Sell that part that you want to coach there because you care about the kids and you want those kids to have the same opportunity that you have. Then add the part about you being 5 quarterbacks to do this and this. That's what matters most to you, is that kids have the opportunity to play at the next level. And you're going to do everything that you can. You're going to coach them up. You're going to make sure they pass all their classes. You're going to make sure that they're recruitable so they can go play at the next level. And you can be in the hallways, make sure they're disciplined. You're going to do all of those things. Now every principal wants you. So you got to sell that.
That's really good. So, I'm so excited to say this, Chris. I get all excited, but here's what I would say: something like this. Football, being in great programs, helped make me a winner. And no matter what I chose to do after playing professional football, I'm going to win because I've got more grit. I've been through this. Like, I'm going to win at whatever I do. I've chosen to go into coaching football, and I'm going to help your children be a part of a program that's going to produce winners, because it's life-changing for me. Like, and I don't know, how long you say it, but if I would have wanted to go into oil and gas, I'm going to win. If I want to go into banking, I'm going to win. I'm a winner because a great athletic program and great coaches help produce, help make me a winner. Anybody expound on that for me and make it better?
I mean, just from listening to his response, like if you were to take my approach to it, you've got grit, passion, and a winner. Like that, from your answer, those are the 3 things that I'm taking from you. So if you find a way to just keep connecting grit, passion, winner, I think you're gonna be okay.
Connect how those things are going to help the kids that you're in your program for those administrators. So you tie it back to, them not being football people, showing them how you're actually going to impact those kids with your program.
Yeah. So I guess a little bit too. So I've got a couple interviews. One's with a coach that's been there for 20 years. They wanted something different. He's kind of retiring. That program has a lot of tradition, but the one I'm really going after, it's kind of an inner city school. Kids get in some trouble. They play in a league where only one team makes the playoff. Their athletic director, I did some research. He got hired as their head basketball coach at 29 with no experience. so I can relate to him in that way. Is that something that I should also pursue initially off the jump? Is, hey, I understand you were kind of in those same shoes that I'm in. How do I approach that, if that makes sense?
I wouldn't verbalize it that way, but I would absolutely, absolutely 100% like pick at that and, sell that portion to him.
Yeah, laying that out on a plate so that he knows that you've done your research. In his mind, he's going to be like, oh man, he's kind of just like me, it's kind of same situation. So you're going to lay it out there and let him see that, hey, I know this, without telling him, hey, I researched you and, you're in the same, I'm in the same boat, but laying it out there is going to make that connection with him between you two.
As a 0-year experience guy, I think the best rebuttal to that being, a negative is saying that as a first year guy, you have an opportunity to mold me into the guy that you want for this campus, right? Versus a guy that's been doing it for 20 years, that's going to be set in his ways and he's going to do it the way he's been doing it. I would really find a way to articulate that and tell him, as a first year guy, we're going to be able to work together to mold me into what the campus needs.
Yeah, that's how you get around the experience angle. You actually turn it into a positive. That's a great thing. Great suggestion, Coach.
What Coach Lester said too is right. I mean, in any situation you're in, it's always going to go back to what you're going to do for kids and what the goal is of that institution to form and shape kids into what you want them to be. And you have a great opportunity there to work with the guy who started it like you did, and then you can continue and move it into the football program just like he's probably done in the basketball. But I think Coach Lester's right. Anytime you can revert back to the kids and how they're going to be treated and cared about is going to be a huge, huge impact on the committee.
And to me, this is why head coaches keep getting jobs. And when I was looking for my first head job, I hated it. I remember thinking, why? Like, they don't come out of the womb, head coaches. Somebody's got to take a chance. But head coaches keep getting jobs because admin wants to make, like Metter put in the chat, they want to make the safe hire. And admin's jobs are so hard that they don't want to hire someone who's going to add to their problems. So the reason I am consulting and, I got tired of solving other people's problems. Like, it's just a lot of work. I can't imagine being a principal or an AD, how many problems they solve a day. They don't want to hire someone that's going to add to that list. So moving on into this discussion, I think what you have to sell them on is you're going to be so organized. You have a system. Here's what I'm going to do day one. Here's what I'm going to do week one. Here's what I'm going to do month one. I'll have a yearly calendar, and I'm going to not create, I don't know how I'm wording this, y'all, but you get it. I'm not going to add to your problems you have to solve every day. I'm going to in fact, I'm going to alleviate problems. Here's one thing I think you really got to sell is what a great communicator you're going to be. No admin thinks their head coaches communicate enough, probably, right? So we'll have a weekly email, we'll have a weekly newsletter, we'll have a sports you or whatever your chat, whatever they use, and you're going to communicate so well. So would anybody let's just do this. So Chris, this isn't one of the questions. We'll get to them. But how are you going to sell them that you're going to solve problems and not create them?
Yeah, that's the tough one. I think for me, because the number one problem I think is not having experience. The first year, the athletic director is going to have to kind of take my hand, I guess you could say. When I spoke to him the first time, it was, these are these deadlines. You have to have your uniform sale, whatever, in by these deadlines. And that's where I have no clue. But I think that the other problem that they were facing before is the head coach wasn't around a ton, doing some research and talking to some people in the building. So for me, how I can say that I can solve the problem for this program is I have a girlfriend that's a sports person. She lived with me in Europe, so she understands the grind. I don't have any kids, so this is my life. I'm all in. So for me, it's I will be around these kids every workout. I'll be there. After school, anything that involves the program, I want to be there firsthand. I want to be at the basketball games, the softball games. So for me, I think my advantage to that is I don't have a family that I have to go home to. I've lived across the country for the last 3 years. If I get to see my parents once a month, I'm happy. So for me, it's my buy-in is I'm going to be here. This is my home. I'm going to make sure when kids need discipline, the teachers are comfortable coming to me and saying, hey, you're so-and-so wasn't doing the right thing in class today. So for me, it's about building men, not about building a football program. I know that 99% of my kids won't play college, but I want 99% of my kids to be positive members in society. When their mom tells them to take out the trash, they do it on the first time, and that's because the discipline that I taught them in the football program. So for me, I guess solving the problems in a tougher neighborhood and a tougher community is that I'm going to be there because a lot of those kids don't have people showing up for them. And so that would be my number one takeaway is promising them and showing them that I'll be there. I don't have kids to worry about, kids to go home to. It's me and the team, and that's my family.
All right, so I love you, Chris. So I'm gonna be honest with you. That wouldn't be a good answer for me.
Okay.
Okay. Now there's nothing wrong with the answer for something else, but y'all want y'all to help me because this is important. Like he's got to nail this. To me, this is the number one thing Chris has to nail. How are you going to solve problems? And it comes down here like eligibility. That's one of the questions and all. But how is Chris going to do a great job of? And if I'm on that committee, I'm thinking Rick Jones is David's brother, and in his 60s, he would go back up to his office every night at 9 o'clock and do work. So it really doesn't matter how old you are. Like we're going to hire someone who's done it before, and he knows these deadlines. So how are you going to be so good at parent communication that they're like my son wrestled? We never knew the wrestling schedule, and I was a campus coordinator, and so how are you? So floor is open. How can Chris sell that he's going to solve problems, not create them?
By being proactive, not reactive. You're going to have a parent meeting right up front. You're going to use Sports U, whatever platform that you have. The kids are going to know, kids, coaches, and parents are going to know weekly schedule. You're going to post all of that. Admin is going to know because you're going to use social media to make sure that they know all of that. The number one thing that when he was talking, when I was thinking, and you don't have a lot of time, use one word, dad. If you're going to be in an inner city place that doesn't have a lot of discipline and things, dad. They don't have that. I'm going to be what this community needs. If I want this community to back me, I'm going to be in the community because I don't have kids. I don't have this. I heard you say I don't have kids. So what I'm going to do is adopt all these kids. All these kids will be my son. And I'm going to make sure that I'm checking their grades. They're going to know if there's no communication between anything else, I'm going to over communicate. That solves a lot of issues. So when a parent comes up to you and say, hey, look, why is my son getting out at 5 o'clock? Well, it was posted on Monday that on Thursday, we're going to get out on 5 o'clock. It already knows. So no matter if admin comes to your practice, you can show them a practice script right then and there that you guys are going to know exactly what I'm doing because I want you to be able to defend me. You can't defend me if you don't know what I'm doing. I'm not going to leave you guys out to dry to where you can't defend me. I'm not going to, myself, my coaching staff, we're not going to cuss. We're not going to over discipline. We're not going to use the word discipline. We're going to use the word standard. So if a kid misses practice, is late to class, is failing it, he's going to have this kind of discipline action. It's not a running or anything. It's our standard. If you're late, here's our standard. If you miss, here's our standard. We have standards. So use that, not about discipline or anything else. but you gotta be you are more than a football coach now. That's got to be your mindset. You are a CEO of a company. You're selling a brand. You're selling a car, and this car is going to change. This is the first model of this car. Next year going to be a different model, but it's going to be the same Cadillac. Baby, it might be a CTS, it might be an XS, but it's going to be the same Cadillac, the same brand. I'm selling you a product here, and when you come on Friday nights, you're going to see this product.
So good.
Yeah,
Lewis,
and it's so easy to get off and go chase a rabbit and start answering a totally other question other than the one that they've asked you, right? So, but definitely you need to have something planned for this question because they're gonna. What was the question exactly, Coach?
you know,
Something about
for me,
solving problems, right?
yeah, like my biggest hurdle to hiring Chris isn't that he's 27, it's that he's going to screw up so many, like he's going to screw up things because he's never done it before. And I mean admin stuff, you know. So Lewis, get ready. I'm fixing to ask you something, but yeah. So Justin, he's got to convince them, I think, that they aren't going to get phone calls once a week over something that he just doesn't know from inexperience.
Yep, and it's just going to come with communication and with the piece. You know, you asked them something about how are you going to solve issues, right? And you really already answered it by saying the word systems. They're going to eat that up. If you go in there and talk about systems, how, and hit it from the angle of we're going to solve issues because we're going to have systems in place to solve these problems before they even arise, right? They're going to want to hear that. That's good. And then just talk about consistency. And, you know, I like what Coach Lester just said about, you know, standards and not saying discipline. It's got a good tone to it.
And I like what Lester said about CEO, and I'm adopting them. And you know, here's a system, Chris, that I got from David Jones's brother Rick about absences. So if I was interviewing you, 27 years old, I'd say, Mr. Helbig, what are you going to do when Michael misses practice on Monday? And Michael's our only quarterback. We don't have a backup. You can relate. And Michael misses practice on Monday. Walk me through that process. Now, okay, I'm not. Yeah, I got you, right? I got you. But that's why we're having this session. That's why. Here's the first question. What's the first question he should ask y'all to Michael? Is it excused or unexcused?
Are you? Yeah.
Why did he miss?
Yeah, you're on it.
Yes. So this is all from Rick Jones. Chris, this is the key to life. Systems. So I can send you this, of course. But here is the priority list for Helbig High School in Colorado. It is God, family, Helbig academics, Helbig football, everything else. So if Metter missed for a funeral, it's excused. He's going to make up the conditioning and still play. If if Metter missed because he was going to an academic contest, it's excused. Now, if he missed for tutoring that he could do before school, we have an issue. But here's the priorities: God, family, academics, football, everything else. So if he missed to go get a driver's license, now we're going to have a parent meeting and they're going to understand all of this. I'm going to give them examples. If Metter misses on Monday to go get his driver's license, that falls under everything else, unexcused. Now he's going to sit a quarter and make up double the conditioning. That's up to you. But here's the bottom line is I've got to answer. And that principal's going to go, I don't think anybody's going to call me and want to know why Metter is having to sit out a quarter. Like, I think Coach Jackson has a system. So, Lewis, what is the number one parent thing you deal with that coaches mess up?
I'll put it in the same plate as teachers. The hard conversation that we have with coaches and teachers is uh, make sure you have your documentation, because when we get the parent phone call, it's their kid's version of what happened. And if they share something with us that we don't have a heads up to, then, it makes it a very difficult conversation. Now you do have documentation and it's more of a different version. Again, we don't want the parent to disclose information that we're not aware of, because, that parent wants an answer. And when we don't have an answer as an administrator, then it's like they're not on the same page, or this guy left out some information, like, the kid got a referral, or, the coach made my son do push-ups for nothing. Uh, and they left out the part that, the kid, shut down because, the coach yelled at him, something like that. But if you give us a heads up, we're able to handle that parent phone call a lot better, because, my role is, what I remind teachers is to have your back, to support you. But when we don't have all the information, it's very hard to have your back or support you. And, the parents are in attack mode.
Yeah. So, Chris, I don't know if you've ever seen this before, but I've got a deal. So Lester knows this story by heart, but in about 2006, we lose in the second round of the playoffs, and a dad cusses me out after the game. And his son was about 400 pounds, and he was a great kid, but he started about 3 or 4 games that year when we knew we were going to win, and he didn't play against games that was dad didn't figure that out, and so he's mad at me. And so a buddy of mine said, you need to do a roll sheet, which means, and here's how he said it. Oh, do you not do a roll sheet? I'm like, well, what is that? Like, it's a little late to tell me. And a roll sheet is, and this stuff will blow their socks off, I think. A roll sheet is, we're going to hand this out before the summer, after the summer, whenever you decide to do it. But we're certainly going to do it during fall camp. And that a roll sheet is, here's where your role is today. Here's where you are right now. You are a varsity starter. There's four things: varsity starter, varsity backup, JV JV player, and then there's one of them anyway. One of them's just called a team man. Like you're on the team. You're a senior, so you have to be on the varsity, but you're not a backup. And we have a deal where we explain it all. We have a deal where we can put 1 to 10 how they do our core values. But here's the deal. You talk about solving problems. For me, every fall camp, our coach Velasquez would fill it out for his receivers, and I would tell the parents, and by the way, email is not the way to communicate with parents, because you can't get their emails. It's having a team chat like SportsU, and it's their responsibility to sign up. And so I put on SportsU, your son should be bringing his roll sheet home, and I told him to put it on the refrigerator. And that way they know. Now, again, we're not killing their soul, but here's where you are on August the 10th. Right now, you're a varsity backup. Here's what you got to do to become a varsity starter. But those two things, I think, are things guys with 20 years experience aren't doing. Is priorities. Here's what an absence means, and here's what playing time, looks like. And so they want to know. Here's a question, and I'm sorry, y'all. I'm going slow here, but Coach Jones, will you talk to parents about playing time?
We always. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I messed that one up. Will you talk to Lewis is the starting left guard? Will you talk to his parents about his playing time?
I have had meetings with parents at some position before the season starts if I know it's going to be an issue. But to answer your question, we all say we don't talk about playing time. But in my 40-something years of experience, every meeting I've had with parents was about playing time. So it always comes up. So, yes, if I can cut it off beforehand, I'm going to talk to them, especially at the quarterback position. I've had meetings before with who it looks like is going to be the backup, who's going to be the starter, and I try to head that off before the season starts.
Chris, I had somebody tell me one time, a parent tell me one time before I had kids, and I was pretty military, as you can imagine. Once you have kids, you're going to treat kids differently. How would you respond to that?
I'd say that my standards and expectations that I grew up on and that I hold myself to, I will hold kids the exact same before I have them or when I have them, because I think there's a standard to becoming a man, and that's not something that changes for me.
Good. That's good.
That's a good
Okay,
answer.
so Anthony, go ahead.
No, I was saying that's a good answer. I talk about being a dad, and we're going to treat your kids like they're our sons. So that's a good answer.
Yeah, a few people have said dad. I think that's so good, man. Like I always said this, a head coach is the dad of the program and the assistant coaches are the uncles. You know, like
That's what I tell our guys, because we're in an inner city school, Chris, like low economically. I mean, I would say 60% of our families, our players are single family homes. So yeah, we sell that, we're fathers and all that too.
Okay, so finally getting to the questions. I mean, we're only an hour in. How are you going to encourage athletes? No, I'm asking this to the group. So let's give Hellbig some ideas. And if you try to go 60 seconds or less. Let's give him 3 or 4 guys going. And then let's let Chris answer it after he gets some help. How are you going to encourage athletes to play multiple sports? Coach Luster, are you still here? You're always good to talk.
Yeah. Well, coach, for me that's my selling point. I'm not just a football coach. So I'm going to encourage athletes to play multiple sports because I want multiple sports to have success. I don't want just football to have success. I don't want just basketball to have success. I want all programs under my leadership to succeed and to flourish. Also, is that when recruiters come, like, and I tell a story that I had a guy walk into a gym and my best receiver dunked the ball standing flat footed. He got an offer that day. The best thing I can do is the best thing that you can do for football players is make sure they power lift and they run track. I'm going to push kids to do multiple sports because the deal is if I want to get better at competing, we got to compete. Off season is great. We're going to find ways to compete in the off season, but I want to go to a track meet and watch our guys run past somebody. I want to go to a basketball game and watch my point guard, my starting quarterback, be the point guard and distribute the ball like he would on the football field. I want every sport, every program, boys, girls, whatever, to be successful. You're not just hiring a football coach when you're hiring me. You hiring somebody that want this school to be on the map. I'm going to do whatever I got to do that. Social media, pushing kids to play other sports. That's what you're getting when you hire me.
Perfect. Anybody else?
You get one shot. You get one shot in high school. That's it. Enjoy every bit of it. Do what you can do. Help every team. You're the leader. Do it. And I'm going to encourage kids to enjoy high school and do all they can do. It's a real simple. I think it's a real simple answer. We're not the owners of those kids. We're there to get them a great experience in high school. And that's, you love the sport, go help them do it. Go play.
I'd also add to Coach Luster's comments that you don't want to be siloed off. You want to work with other coaches to build up the entire athletic department. Now, in my context, it's pretty selfish. And to have someone that wants to work with other coaches, it's mind blowing. So I would say you're willing to partner with wrestling, with track, all these sorts of other coaches to enhance that program across the whole high school.
It's our responsibility to allow kids to do whatever they want to do during this special time. Because like David said, when it's over, it's over. It's in, and I love what Tom said is, I don't know if when you're 47, you should say this. Any coach on our staff who's not encouraging kids to play multiple sports, we need to get rid of them. Like if you were a Texas AD who could fire the head baseball coach, and you found out he was telling kids to only play baseball, we got to find a way to get that guy out. Like, it's just that big a deal. Anybody else, y'all? Multiple sports. So, and Chris, you played multiple sports, so I know you can go down this road, but tell us how you'll sort of answer this.
Yeah, so my big thing is playing other sports teaches kids how to compete. There's a scoreboard in every other sport as well, so you're building lifelong competitors. So I encourage kids to play other sports, be a part of other team. I think it develops skills in life too. Sports do. So for me, the big thing is I want my kids competing year round. I don't care if that's baseball, swimming, track and field, whatever it is. I encourage my kids to compete and chase after being the best version of themselves in a team setting from January 1st through December 31st every year.
Okay, so people remember stories, Chris. So I think this is big. Here's what I think that's a great answer. Here's what I think you got to add to it is you got to give them a scenario. So so here's how I'm gonna encourage people to play other sports. Let's say Tom comes to me after football season, and Tom's our starting quarterback. And I would, if Tom was a one sport person, we're going to work some in the off season. But if Tom comes to me and says, Coach, I'm thinking about playing basketball, here's what I'm going to tell him and verbalize it. Okay. I hadn't rehearsed this, but here's what I tell coaches. And when I have a staff meeting for my whole staff, I give them this scenario. If Tom comes to you and says, Coach, I want to play basketball, if you say, Tom, I think you need to follow your heart and do whatever you want to do, that's code for don't play basketball. So not only am I going to tell a kid to follow your heart, but I'm going to actually encourage them. I'm going to say, Tom, we have time to get you ready to play quarterback after basketball. Go play basketball. Go compete. College football coaches would have a little bit of a red flag if you didn't play basketball. Basketball's athletic. We got time. But saying, so somehow I think you got to put this in, because I think this is really, really vital. Coaches that just say follow your heart or do what you want to do, those guys are those are what Tom's talking about. That's code for don't play. Anybody want to follow up on that? Questions, Chris, on that? You feel good about that, or?
Yes. Nope.
I would say one thing I would say in there, Chris, is instead of saying my kids, I would say our kids. I always say our, I never say my. When I talk about our football program, I say we. I don't, when I talk about coaches, I say we, I say us. I never say I. I say it's our football program, our football players, our athletes. But I never ever say like my. So I know it's small, but it's just something I do.
It's huge. And go back to being a dad. So what would a dad tell his kid? The dad would tell Tom's dad would tell him to play basketball.
Yeah, and in your sense, like if you don't have an example of, since you haven't been a head coach, right? So you tell me when I was in high school, my coach told me, hey, go play other sports because of this, like something of that sort. Like I know for me, when I got asked that question at my school, well, I got lucky at my previous school, because I pushed all the football players to go do winter sports. Most of them went and played basketball, and we ended up having four basketball teams instead of normally three. We had two freshman teams because there was like 40 freshman boys that played and they didn't want to cut anybody, right? So like, you can say an example of something of that sort. When I was in high school, I played, football, basketball, baseball, football, wrestling, baseball, football, wrestling, track, whatever you did to kind of say, my coach pushed me to do that, and it helped me become a better person also. So
now this might just be a Randy Jackson thing here, Chris, but I would still want them lifting weights and stuff. So is there athletics during the school day in these places?
No, it's all before school.
Okay.
Chris,
I
I'm in
believe-
that same boat, man. And like for us, like I'm not on campus, right? Because they don't have any spots, right? So I'm not even on campus, and I'm there every day though. So like for us, we lift in the morning from 6 a.m. to until first. Like I let them go 10 minutes for first hour, and then I leave and go to my job. So I work in a different school district. So like basically, you can still make that work, man. Like for us, and the reason why I do it before school is because now I don't get no excuses of coach. I got basketball, coach. I got baseball. Listen, we can still lift, and then I'm cognizant of game days for them, right? I know if they got a game day, whatever, we'll make that work. We'll adjust lifting, things of that nature, because you know how other coaches are scared that their kids, if they lift, oh God, they can't play. Just know, like I do that. I get there. We go 6 a.m. I get to the school at like 5:15, and it makes for long days, but it's worth it.
Yeah, I would say something like, hey, I'd still want my basketball players to come lift before school on Mondays and Thursdays. That doesn't make you sound like, we're not going to lift on game day. We're not if they play basketball on Tuesday night, they don't, maybe we're going to lift on Wednesdays after a home game or something. I don't know, but I would just throw that out there of like I don't want to go 4 months without seeing Tom, but we should all be working together anyway on that. Anybody have a follow up?
Have it, but also say that have a plan for that though. You say, hey, look, I'm a share athletes, but I still want to see them.
Yeah.
I'm a share them, but I don't want to cut my nose off, to save my face type deal. I want to be able to see a Monday. We do for here now, coach. We do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. We do legs Wednesday. After they play their game, we do legs on Wednesday, so there won't be any excuses. I can't run up and down the court because I'm sore. We do upper body 2 days a week, but we lift with them. But they come to us. No offense to basketball coaches, but I'm watching basketball kids squat 135 for 6 months.
I know.
They're coming back to me.
And I'd
Chris,
also
do these schools have a head strength and conditioning coach?
Nope.
Mine either, coach. So that's why we do a 3-day split. That way our early release is normally on Monday. So that way I don't have to ask them to come in on Mondays early. And then Fridays, we let them have Friday off because it's Friday. So that's why we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Maybe that's someone you'd envision bringing on staff, someone that has that sort of expertise that could help other programs. I don't know, just an idea.
And by the way, I never had a head strength and conditioning coach in Texas or anything, so I think it's just, and anyway, there's a question here in a second about off season. All right, next question. How are you going to recruit your own players? And I think Colorado has the portal basically, right? You can transfer.
As long as it's not in district. But the inner city school is the only high school in the whole district. So that's why it's kind of a gold mine, is a lot of the middle school kids aren't going there, even though that's the only school in district, because previous coaches have not been what some of these other schools are able to help kids.
So
you got to find a way to get to those middle schools.
Yeah. You got to sell that you're going to be a kid magnet. And will you have a job on campus or
Yes.
like Anthony? Okay. So that's certainly something I would tell them is I'd like to have a schedule where I can be at a different how many middle schools are there?
That I would need to research.
Okay. Yeah. See, those are the kind of questions. So I'm just jumping ahead here, but the last question is questions for us. If you ask them a question that's easily found out, it looks bad.
Yep.
Like I've had people ask me, how many periods are in y'all school day? And I think, man, you could have looked that up so easy, Yeah, find that out. Because and I would say most coaches, and one of the reasons I retired, I got tired of doing this stuff. But I'd say, look, man, if you'll give me where I can be at those, I'll be at a different middle school every day. Okay. How are we going to recruit? Next question. How are we going to recruit our own athletes? And how are we going to get athletes from other schools to want to come here? Floor is open.
Easy. Social media. Come up with daily awards. Man, what you celebrate, this is one of the things that Jackson beat into me. What you celebrate, you get more of. It's the truest statement ever. So and the parents love it. They want to be able to retweet. They want to be able to share all the social media stuff. Little Johnny loves it. Social media helps recruit your kids, but also helps recruit other kids. If they see that your kids, what your kids got going on, they want to be a part of that as well. Admin loves it because it's positivity coming out of your program about their school. Also, what you want to do is, man, make sure that you have some resemblance of what they see on Saturdays. And what I mean by that is like they see turnover change, they see whatever. A lot of coaches don't want to do all of that, but the kids love it. They want that. Do it. If that's not your forte, hire somebody that it is. If you're not a kid magnet, if you're not a recruiter, you have to hire those guys. And here's the biggest thing that I learned in this deal is you get hired a lot of times by who you hire. So when you get done in that last deal, you say, I'm not just coming by myself. I'm also bringing, Coach Randy Jackson with me, be my offensive coordinator or be my DC. He's established. He has a name. It just shows that you're prepared. You're not just coming in and getting a job. Now you're scrambling. But at the same time, man, you want to bring in people that's going to help you recruit, help you retain. And the last thing is this, man, is your summer workouts also helps you as well. Be organized in your summer program. Also celebrate that. Get those kids, man, bigger, faster, stronger in summer. Have open practices, man, but have you make sure your practices are organized. Invite parents to come to practice. Word of mouth is huge to get recruited. Mom and dads will help you recruit. Hey, man, you got to come see our new coach. He's awesome. He's all about our kids. Man, I got a nephew and niece that are going to come play for him now. So what you got to do, man, is don't be stale. Don't do things as always done. Always recreate yourself. Once again, it's a brand. It's a car. This is the 19 whatever model. Here's a 2025 model of this car. Always recreate your brand. Always, but keep the standard the standard. But also know that you're doing this to recruit the next level. Beat down the doors of your middle schools as well.
Anybody else, y'all, recruiting your own players or other players?
I would say talking to other coaches in the athletic department also, and PE teachers, like, hey, who looks like an athlete that hasn't played football, right? Like, can I, like that's one thing I did with the PE teachers. I'm like, hey, who looks like an athlete, and then I went and talked to those kids, right? And then same with other coaches, right? Like I went and talked to the wrestling coach, the basketball coach about getting those guys to come play football, right? And I told them, hey, I will push our guys to go play your sports too, right? I'm going to be fair. So that's one thing I did is I communicated with other coaches on campus already that were try to share athletes.
We also do an official visit day for freshmen. We're set up where we have 1.5 middle schools essentially that feed into our high school. And so each year we send out an invitation for an official visit to the high school. Get the badges, we get the jersey on a mannequin, the whole nine. And these kids eat it up. But more than that, the parents eat it up. They get excited. They go start buying the t-shirts and all that sort of stuff so that the parents are saying, well, we bought this stuff. You're playing football this spring or this coming fall. So it's a little bit of a headache to put together the first time around, but it's big to recruit those incoming freshmen. We also really push community involvement. And we're getting to the point where guys are actively going out and seeking their own ways to make a difference in the community. And that just makes people enjoy the high school and the football team a little bit more. So it doesn't reach the players so much, but it helps us out in the community.
Love it. Anybody else? Isn't this so much better, Chris, than just me being me? Like, this is so good, y'all. Like, we have this kind of community. So here's
one question off that. They are one of the few schools in Colorado that have a feeder team. So they have a
Oh,
8th grade team. How do you, because obviously you can't coach them, I wouldn't think. How do you express that you're going to be more involved than previous feeder?
Well, you need to find out if you
leaguers?
can coach them. Like me, I'm coaching our middle school flag, right?
Okay.
Like we have 7-on-7 here. It's flag, but it's 7-on-7. So like for us, I'm the head 8th grade coach there, right?
Okay.
So and then in the spring we run like a modified like tackle for team kids that haven't played, right? And I'm coaching that, right? Like so I would find out, if you can, and then get in touch with the guys that are running it, right? Talk to them. Like I got in touch with a guy that runs it, and I hired him to be our freshman defensive coordinator, right? So now he's with those kids from that moment in spring, and now I have him coaching flag with us. So now we basically have access to those middle school kids from December until November next year when they're in high school doing football with us. So get in touch with those people and figure that out first.
We run our own flag league during the season, and the coaches are the players, and the kids love it. We just got an email from a parent that they want an autographed picture of their coaches. Like, these are 14, 15-year-olds that are being idolized by second graders. But it's setting us up for the future where they want to become that, and they want to make an impact later on in their life on the next generation of old age football players. So it's a headache, but it's making a difference. We won't see the payoff for another 10 years, but that's what we're doing.
well, like you say, your players that are coaching are seeing that payoff. That's so, y'all. Tom is paying me to come visit his school in April or sometime, but I'm worried, Tom. I'm really going to have anything good to say. Like, that's good stuff, man. Um, Here's what you got to say, Chris. You got to leave them with some phrases. Hey, we're being a part of the football program is going to be the best part of their day. Okay, so they're going to go, wow. Like most coaches wouldn't say that. Being when they're with me is going to be the best, hardest part of their day. You can even throw hard in there some, but it's going to be the best part of their day. I think if you say the word relationships and systems, and there's a few key words, but relationships, they can't hear that enough. So I'm going to be the head coach that they're going to lay in traffic for, because it's not going to just be about football. So for this to be the best part of their day, we have to make an environment where we are so happy that they're there. So like we used to have first period football at North Forney, and we would drive up, it would be dark. And Luster can attest to this. Like I pretty much will tell people when I'm pissed, as you know, and there'd be days I'd come in. I gave one guy the job to have music going. I said, when the kids are showing up at 6:15, it can't be dark. The lights have to be on, music has to be playing. We got to all be in the hallway high-fiving kids, telling them good morning. There'd be a microphone, and I would, when somebody'd walk in, I'd be like, hey, Holland's here, y'all. Look, man, he got up extra early and did his hair, because his hair would be crazy, right? And that was our thing. And if coaches were sitting in the coach's office, I was pissed. And I would pretty much go in there and tell them, hey, guys, we got to make some kids know how happy we are that they're here. And so, and this is in true me fact, the guy who I gave the music to didn't do a good job. So I just took it over. So you're going to make this an environment. One time I was at University of Minnesota, I got to go to one team meeting, and I'll never forget it. And a song came on by, I don't know, it was 24 Karat Gold, whatever. And I remember an assistant coach saying, Coach, there's not one song that's ever played at Minnesota that's not intentional. It has to have the right amount of rhythm, and it has to be enough juice. Nothing is an accident here. And so I would talk about those things. And I know you can't go 20 minutes on this answer, but this might be the most important question of them all. And that is, we're going to make this a program they can't live without. It's going to be the best, toughest part of their day. And we're going to do that through like, relationships are built on dialogue. So when I took over at Greenville last year, I was the interim coach and I showed up, 4 days before fall camp. And I remember our coaches telling me that the ex-head coach never talked to the team. I mean, after games, he didn't talk to them. He never talked to them. And I think you got to be the opposite of that. You might even tell that, you might make up something, hey, I had a coach so-and-so, he never talked to anybody. I'm going to talk to our guys. We're going to have a daily team meeting. It's going to be 10 minutes. It's going to be mental performance and character. And it's not going to be football. That's how we're going to start practice every day, is with a 10-minute team meeting on mental performance. And we'll have a chat. We're going to, at Christmas, I'm going to put in the chat, hey, what is the most unusual present you've ever had? Like during the Super Bowl, I'm going to say, here's what's going to win. We're going to have chats. Like I'm not just going to see them. I mean, I've got a coach in Fast and Wide from a non-Texas state. I don't think he sees his kids, but just during football season. And I think you have to sell them on, I'm going to be their dad. And I'm a phony if I'm just their dad during football season. I kind of rambled there. I'm sorry. Anybody else, y'all, on this one is huge.
I'm gonna add one more thing. It's like I didn't. We did it last year, and I'm gonna do it again here. Is we have National Signing Day for our middle school. We go down to our middle schools and we take some football players, we take some jerseys, we give them a piece of paper, and they sign their name that they're coming to Brazoswood High School. Once again, photo op. Junior high kids love it. They see it on TV. Parents are all fired up. They're retweeting. They love it. And here's another thing too. They need to be sold on you before you walk in. And what I've always did before I went to an interview, I looked on the line. I always asked who's going to be on the committee. I found out who's going to be on the committee, and I sent them a 4-slide PowerPoint. One of whatever I want them to know about me. Could be me as a son, as a father, as a parent, me as a Christian, me as a hunter, me as a fisherman, whatever I want them to know. Then me doing something out in the community, and that could be you as a player helping out somebody. But you want to send them something before you walk into that room. They got to be in love with you. They got to see them. That got to be like a trailer before they see the movie. You understand what I'm trying to tell you? So you want to hook them before you even get there. So email them a 4-slide, nothing long. It ain't got to be 20 slides. I kept it 4 slides. And my 4 slides was Coach Luster. Then it was athletes, community, and team. And it was about me loving the athletes, me loving the community, me building a team. And that's what I sent him.
Would you send him that so he could look at it?
Because you got to get it from Justin. I lost North Forney, shut my Google Drive down. So I no longer have anything.
Justin, I'll share Chris's cell number with you or whatever, but are you still on here, Justin?
Yes, sir. I'll see.
Okay.
I'll have to see if I still have that as well.
If you have it, email it to me and I'll put it in the chat and stuff, but I'll send it to you, Chris. So
I'll search for it now.
Another thing, Chris, I forgot about, since you have a middle school, is every middle school game, you're gonna and some of your coaches, like they're going to sign, we're going to have a calendar, but at every middle school game, we're going to have at least 2 coaches there, and each coach is going to bring 2 players. So on the sideline for your middle school, there's going to be at least 4 varsity players and 2 coaches, and we're not going to stand on the 20-yard line and just chill. We're going to be in the middle. We're going to high-five kids. So I'm going to tell those 4 players, whoever I think high-five the most, we're going to go eat a hamburger afterwards. Whoever high-fives the most, they're getting ice cream. Something dumb, but it's all about high-fiving kids.
And have a middle school night where you bring your middle schools to your high school game and have them run out of the tunnel afterwards. Another photo op. They bring more people to the stands. But make sure it's a game that you're going to win.
Luster's really doing a better job of me than this. Like, you can't have too much social media presence, I don't think, and you being younger, you can sell. And I don't know with Colorado, like I'm a Coach Prime, I get it, but I don't know if you can say this. Like I like Dion a lot, but I don't know if you can build a real program with 80 guys in the portal every year. And so I don't know if this is a good analogy or not, but I would say we're going to be the anti Colorado. Like we're going to try to be, we want kids to want to come here, but every kid that we have, we're going to keep, and it's going to be a program they can't live without. And they're any friend they have at another school, they're going to tell them how great this is. Anyway, something like that, like I don't think a true culture happens when you turn your roster over every year. All right, next question. I will never get finished. Off season. So, y'all. So Chris is gonna. Is it before school, Chris? You're gonna do it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So he's gonna bring kids up before school, and how's he need to sell on that? They're gonna have a great off season when they don't have it during the period.
I think
College.
Chris, like to me, it's you're talking about, hey, like this is same thing as like Coach Lester said in the summertime, right? We're building culture, we're together, we're lifting. Like that's how I'm selling it to our guys. Our guys are excited to get in there with and be back with football players only in there. So that's the one thing. And like Coach said, like we posted on social media. I reshare it as a story every few days, right? Like I'm doing all that kind of stuff to try to get them excited about it because really our guys are football players that play other sports. And so I got basketball parents saying, "Can my kid come because they play basketball?" I'm like, "Yes, that's the reason why we do it in the morning," right? So that's the other thing is communicating that out to parents, mass communication, and yeah, I mean, obviously when they come in the morning, you got to muster it up and you got to be excited for them and put some music on that they want to hear and make it an environment they want to be around. Otherwise, they won't get up early to come.
Yeah, I think you once you get some positive reaction, you definitely want to isolate the leader, not isolate, but find those leaders that can also help spread the word and incorporate them into the process of bringing more kids out and sharing the joy and the happiness, the fun, that you're creating, to get other kids that are on the fence or just not sure about it, invested in coming in and getting better.
But yeah, so Chris, here's something you got to tell them. How the kid that is really good, but he don't come to off season. How do you get him there? Anybody want to help him?
Relationships, and relationships are built on dialogue. I think you said that, Randy. Like you gotta take him out to lunch. You gotta be with him, right? Another thing I would add is I would highly suggest purchasing the blueprint. Leadership, mental performance training in the off season, game changer to change a culture.
Tom is not only a friend of mine, but he's also my attorney. Thank you, Tom. He's got me out of DWIs multiple times. Chris, so here's the thing. Here's how coaching has changed. Here's how I used to get kids to early morning workouts, is you would ostracize, like you I don't know how to say this, but you sort of ostracize them and make it like, I don't know. But today, for sure, you celebrate. I learned this in Germany, maybe. Like, how was I going to get Robert, a 35-year-old center, how was I going to fuss at him enough to want to do it right? Well, I think you celebrate what you celebrate, you replicate. So the kid that doesn't want to come, so your off-season program is going to be about we're work and showing up and all, and we're going to just celebrate the heck out of the ones that are there. And the ones that aren't coming they're missing out. So on Fridays or whatever day, every 2 weeks, we're going to do breakfast tacos for perfect attendance. After 6 weeks, we're going to give out t-shirts for perfect attendance. We're going to post on social media every day the group that's there, or we're going to post a picture on Thursday mornings, a picture of the perfect attendance for that week. So I think when you talk off season, we're going to have a plan for strength and conditioning. The people in the committee aren't going to care, but they're going to want to, if they have any sense, they're going to want to know how you're going to get it there. Are you going to tell a kid, Chris, who plays football, that he has to come if the basketball coach doesn't want him to come?
I think that's tough. I think that as coaches, you need to have that conversation one of your first couple days in the building. Is you want to build, like the other guys were saying, a pipeline with the other coaches. So I think that solves a lot of the problem. I think any coaches that I've been around that had a problem with it was when there was an issue with the coach, not with the situation. It's not that they don't want their kids to lift, it's that they don't want their kids to lift with this coach. So I think building a positive relationship with the other coaches in the building saves a lot of those troubles from happening.
Yeah, I was hoping you'd say that, because for me, that'd be like, that should never happen, because me and Coach Smith, we've already had a talk. Like if we ever put a kid in the middle, shame on us.
Yep.
And I would make sure, Chris, that you really sold on the fact that it's not my way or the highway. And I'm not going to ask a kid to squat heavy the day he's pitching, like just make sure you give them the idea of, I think perfect attendance, teaching a kid to get up early and have perfect attendance is a life skill, and strength really is number 2, and condition, and agility and all. Am I missing something, y'all, that he needs to say about off season? I know we've went forever, Chris. I hope you're okay on time.
Coach, here's the thing, man. Dennis Parker, a Texas high school coaching legend, he told me the greatest thing that you can build in off season is confidence. That's what you tell the people in the interview. The great thing we're going to build is confidence. Like if we wasn't very strong, they're going to be confident that they were strong. He could, if we wasn't very fast, they're going to be confident that we're fast. We're going to time the very first 40 at 41 yards, and that last 40 we're going to time it at 39 and a half. We're going to make them believe that they gotten faster, and they're going to feel confident in that. The greatest thing that you can do in off season, the number one thing you build is not muscles or anything, is confidence in the coaches, in our character, our standards, and in you. Confidence is a great thing you can build in off season.
Chris, do you know who Dr. Gilbert is?
Just from you, yeah. He spoke,
Okay.
I think, a couple times in Potsdam.
All right, I know you got 15 minutes left, but I'm going to tell you this story real fast, but I want you to lie, and I want it to be from Dr. Gilbert told me this story yesterday. Okay, so when you talk off season or whenever, tell them you're in Vienna, Europe, or Potsdam, and you're working out, and this 9-year-old girl is working out on the balance beam, and she's really good. And you end up talking to her mom, and her mom says, yeah, she's really good. She's a figure skater, and she's just here working on her balance. And you ask her about her coaches, and she says, well, all the good skating coaches are ex-Soviet Union people, and they're very negative. And they only coach with, he told me this is a true story in New Jersey. And even in New Jersey, the great skating coaches are from the Soviet Union and China. And he said they all are negative, and they all just say, do it better, do it better, do it better. But she said, they're the only good ones. And Dr. Gilbert said, I didn't tell her this, but her daughter is going to quit eventually, because nobody wants to hear, do it better, you suck, like they want confidence. And so if you have a way to tie that story in, and if you can tie it in like you're in Vienna, it'll even be more cool. They'll go, okay, this guy gets it. I hope that makes sense. All right. Guys, Chris has got to go to work. So in season practice, what should Chris make sure he says about and I think what they want to hear, Chris, on in season practice is you care about JV and freshmen.
Yep.
So how can Chris sell that he cares about JV and freshmen?
I mean, just tell them that you're going to be around them. You know, like for us, our freshmen practice at the same time as us because the way our district mandates stuff. So I make sure I get over to that side of the field and take a look at them, and then I make sure at least I do one of the breakdowns with them at the end of practice. I make sure that like during the games, even if we're practicing and they're playing at home, I go over to the game. Even when they're not playing at home, I drive if the game's close. I can get over there after our practice. I drive over there and see them. So the biggest thing is just relationship, being around them, to make sure the kids seeing you, tell them good luck, all those kind of things.
And, I would say something about they're going to run our same stuff. We'll have the same verbiage. Even it says in the book of Genesis, the Tower of Babel would have been completed. That God messed their language because he said they're gonna build this tower because their language is all the same. And so I would just say how important like our verbiage is going to be the same. And I assume like in the way I've always done is we had a quarterback coach for 9 through 12. So I don't know if you can do it that way or not, but if there's a way you can say like our coaches are going to coach one side of the ball for all the way up. I don't, but anybody else?
I always drop the same verbiage they use, vertical alignment. And we're going to be vertical alignment. They're going to, practice structure is going to be similar to a varsity structure. We're going to, like you said, use the same terminology. I'm going to try to structure my varsity practice if it is the same time where while my varsity guys are doing offense, my defensive guys are with my freshmen, the same coaches that coach on Friday night, we're going to coach your guys throughout the week and also going to be there on their game days. Another thing that I always try to say is that they're our foundation. I have to get it right with them first. No matter what happened this season, I have to make sure that those guys, my younger groups, are right because they're my foundation. And the last thing that I would say to what my practice, and I got this from you, Randy, is that you should know what my standards are about within 5 minutes of watching a practice. And so if you guys come out to practice, within 5 minutes of what we're about. And you're going to see a practice similar to a college. Once again, they love hearing that. You're going to see practice similar to college practices. It's going to be segmented. It's not going to be just team where these guys standing around. No, we're going to be moving around, going to be flying around. It's going to be a high tempo, high paced practice because that's what they see on when they go to the next level.
And real quick, I want to say this. Will they be your scout team?
In my practice?
No, Chris, will they be your scout team?
Yes.
So
yeah.
We're going to call them our attack team. And we're going to have a attack team players of the week. And one of them is going to get to dress up and come out for the coin toss if they want to. Anything like what Eric and Anthony said, is like they're going to be very important. They're going to my JV quarterback and freshman quarterbacks are going to help signal in plays, things like that.
Yep.
Okay, last question. He's got to go. Chris, do you want to do fundraising or academics?
Fundraising, because I have no clue.
Okay, somebody help him with fundraising.
I mean, there's the common fundraisers, the online donations, the gold cards are like the cards that have like your schedule on them, that have like local businesses that have discounts, those are the common ones you can do. If you get in with people, like we have one that we do here where we go put volleyball courts down and we get paid $100 per volleyball court that we do. There's a massive volleyball tournament here in the summer. So we go do that. We make 4,000 or 5,000 doing that. So any kind of like odd jobs you can do. I have some of my guys do work concessions in those also. And that money I don't take, I let them they keep all that money on their own. But those are the common ones, right? Online donation, doing gold cards. And then you just got to tell them how important it is to you, right? Because like our kids, and then you got to incentivize them, right? So like our kids at my school, the previous year raised like $4,000. Well, we raised like almost $30,000 this year, right? So because we made sure they knew it was important, and we made sure they knew everything we were fundraising for went back to them, right? So that's the other thing, is if they know what it's for and it's not for bullshit, then they're going to do it, right? Like 2 years ago, they bought, or 3 years ago, the previous head coach, they bought an end zone camera for like $15,000 and never used it. So the kids were pissed. So they didn't want to do fundraising. Well, we told them, listen, we're buying you shirts, we're buying you shorts, we're buying you game shirts, right? We're buying you new away jerseys. Like we told them everything, that we use the money for. We're buying you food for the season. And that's how we would pay for like our meals, our pregame meals, all that stuff. So that way we didn't have to ask parents for money or donations or any of that stuff. So those are the common ones. Non-common ones, obviously there's car washes, things of that nature, but you can only do so many car washes. So, but the gold cards and the online donations are the ones that you got to hit big on.
And I think you got to give. I had the most success when our players got something. Like if they sold 20 cards, they got a hoodie with their name on the back of it and their number and stuff. And so I think you got to talk about how, we're going to raise money. We're going to know where like Anthony hit the nail on the head. Like if you tell them we need 15,000 for have another helmet, you'll raise 15. Like they want uniform stuff, and they want things that are, that's their love language. I'd probably use that word, their love language. But then we also have to reward them. So if a kid brings in $1,000, he's going to get 5% of it back, whatever. I
Yeah,
know.
we do custom backpacks for our guys. So since we're Adidas, we're like, listen, you will get the top guys will get Adidas, right? And then we integrated that with their attendance. We're like, so the top 5 guys get an Adidas hoodie, plus with their attendance, they get the backpack, right? So if you do that kind of stuff, you're gonna hit it off the nail. So
we had them in position lines. It made a competition out of it. The whatever coach, so if the running back coach, O-line coach, whoever position raised the most money, that coach got $100. But that line got a pizza party. We did a deal, so it became a competition. It wasn't just about selling things to raise money. It was who's going to outsell what position. So that made it a better deal as well. So we raised more money. Coach, here I've never been in a place like this before. On our card sales, we raised $48,000 off our card sales.
Thank you guys. Seriously, that was a massive help. I appreciate it a ton from you guys.
Let us know, buddy.
Yep.
Good luck, Coach.
Thank you guys.
See you guys.